a conversation presented by Accor. Please welcome the Chief Luxury and Premium Brands Officer for Accor, Alexander Schellenberger, in conversation with Skift President Carolyn Krevins.
Hey, Alex, how are you doing there in Paris?
Hi, Caroline. Great. Absolutely great. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Yeah, so happy to have you here. Hey, so Alex, let's dive right in. You are fairly new to Accor.
Yeah.
You are the Chief Brand Officer, and you have a really impressive brand building background. You come from companies like Procter and Gamble and Coty. So you've had a couple of months now on the job. My first question is, how do you envision building the Accor brand in the coming decade? And the next question is does the process of branding actually change, taking into account what we've just been through the last couple of years?
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Caroline. So a couple of things. I mean, and I'm just coming back actually from ILTM in Cannes, which was my first one. So it was fantastic to see everybody back. Great energy, positive vibes. Was really a perfect way for me to also land in the industry. And as you said, I've been before 17 years mostly in FMCG and luxury companies, which of course helped me to build some brand building fundamentals. But I've been with Accor now since September 1st, and it's been a fantastic time. Everybody has been incredibly welcoming. It's an incredible company with such a diverse portfolio. And if you look at, so let me start with maybe pointing out one specific fact that will underline that. When you look at Accor about 8 years ago, and I could also really see that at the show now at the LTM, it was a completely different company. It was 12 brands, and now 8 years later, we're 40 plus, 42, 43 brands spanning all the way from mid and eco to ultra luxury with Raffles and also the Orient Express. So fantastic transformation, you might say, from mid and eco to a premium and luxury portfolio plus lifestyle. So secondly, apart from all the amazing transformation that happened in premium and luxury, of course, there's also Ennismore, which has been created and announced a couple of months ago only. And it hosts such illustrious brands as the Hoxton, Mama Shelter, Delano, SLS coming out of SBE. So again, a great addition towards that transformation. So how we're going about it in terms of brand building and what I'd like to do for the future is very much connected to giving brands a purpose. I think a purpose has always been there, no matter the industry, and actually really at the heart of brand building. But now it's really clear that it's reaching every single industry. And we are taking a very close and detailed look at each of our brand platforms and brand equities, making sure that it stays really true to its roots and history, but secondly, also has a deeper purpose that on the one hand connects with its target audience, but on the other hand, also gives a real and true meaning and value add to its customer base, but also to the world, because we're going to have to figure out how all of these brands, interact and live on this planet with all of its people. And that brings me to the next point, which is CSR and sustainability is a really big theme, of course, across the globe and also for us. So it's an important element in the way we are creating and constructing these new brand platforms. And Accor has an incredible sustainability commitment and agenda over the next couple of years. And thirdly, so after we talked about portfolio brand building and the sustainability piece attached to that, thirdly, there's a super big piece that is pretty unique to Accor. Everybody is, I think, in the same boat when it comes to digital transformation, but Accor has decided to basically set up its own digital factory led by our CDO, Alix. And we have about 700 people that at this point in time are building the Accor of the future, so the technological backbone, which is pretty amazing.
That's pretty awesome. We would kill for a factory of 700 digital people thinking about the future. But you mentioned before you have 40 plus brands, right? So you have a whole lot of them. And I mean, it must be somewhat of a daunting task, right? They each have their own audience. They each have their own community. Yeah. They have their own selling points. So how do you, as the Chief Brand Officer, how do you think about the process of developing unique points of difference and difference between their programs and so on?
Yeah, and again, excellent question. The way I think there's a good framework that is still very much valid, which is first you need to be very clear about your who. So who are you speaking to? Who do you have a right to win with? Who's the target audience that's going to engage with your brand? And that's basically about to listen, and you can enter in a two-sided conversation, not just a one-sided transactional one. Then the what, so who, what, which is all about the brand equities, building a brand platform that is unique, and attached some key brand differentiators, like what are those brand pillars that make you different and unique, that are speaking to this audience and are unique to your brand. And then last but not least, it's all about the how, your overall activation plan. So the programming within the hotels, the partnerships that you build. Again, there's probably something that we can also learn from other industries. For example, the fashion industry, which is super big on brand partnerships, and has basically reinvented a lot of those companies through brand partnerships. And I don't see why we couldn't do the same in the hospitality sector. There's probably something that we can take from those brands that gives our brand something that we currently don't have, be it a new customer base, be it new content that is relevant to these people, because people don't consume in a monolistic manner. They, of course, stay at hotels, but they also buy other things. So I think there's a lot of things to learn. And maybe one good example, which we've recently done, is Pullman, which is one of our premium brands, which is uniquely positioned with an audience that is geared towards entrepreneurs, digital nomads around the world. And these guys, of course, still want their fitness routine. So one of the key brand differentiators for Pullman is fitness. So we've built a fantastic partnership with Les Mills. And actually 3 weeks ago, we've hosted, which is now official, actually as of today, so breaking news, the largest virtual fitness class around the world, which actually was a World Guinness record breaking. So
how many people?
We had more than 15,000 people.
Wow.
So pretty amazing for a hotel brand to be able to attract that kind of crowd. We had 6 ambassadors that were also carrying that message into the world from different regions of the world. So I think that's a pretty cool example of what you can do with a powerful partnership that resonates with your audience, but is true to the brand. Because George Pullman was he was an entrepreneur, he was an innovator. So it's also a nice nod to the history.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, I wasn't part of that workout class, but you mentioned, I just want to pull on a thread that you mentioned at the beginning, and you talked about the fashion industry. And I think that they have done a tremendous job in terms of tapping into creativity and all. So how do you, from where you sit, what is the role of creativity in hospitality? Like, how do you think you can pull from other industries and bring it to our industry?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's to me, all about disruption. How do we create something again that's true to the brands, but that gives it maybe a different angle, which is what the fashion industry is doing all the time. They stay true to their roots. They dig in their archives, and then they bring out something that is connecting more towards contemporary culture, to pop culture, and that's what it's all about. So and for me, the idea would then be, yes, we follow the traditional brand building model on the who, what, how, but when it comes to the how, it's for me about how do we connect those programs and partnerships to something that is bigger than just hospitality. And this is what the fashion world again is doing super well. They create cultural movements that span beyond fashion into arts, entertainment, etc. And that's, I think, something that I would like to dig into. Maybe another great example is, which is definitely not your typical hospitality ad, is what we've recently done with Sofitel Frenchit. It's a campaign that was developed, actually during the pandemic. So we also wanted to do something, and this is, of course, credit to the guys that have developed it over the past couple of months. We wanted to do something that is little bit more tongue-in-cheek, that is a little bit more irreverent, which plays homage to what Sofitel was all about. It was all about challenging the status quo of luxury hospitality when it was first introduced in the 60s. And it's playing with that Frenchness of Sofitel that's at the heart, but it's taking French idioms and it's bringing it into contemporary culture. So the idea is, of course, that at some point in time, people use, French it as a bit of an expression. And this is what I mean, how do you bring things into contemporary culture so that it actually resonates more than just being a transactional ad and communication campaign.
Right. French it. I like it. So just switching gears a little bit, earlier in one of our opening sessions, James Thornton, the CEO of Intrepid, was talking with our editor, Lily, about community. And I know Accor thinks about community quite a bit. But in your opinion, how should the hospitality sector as a whole be thinking about not only community, but the local audiences? Is there any specific products or design changes that you implemented at Accor because of that?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, maybe here is something that we as an industry, for sure, we in our brand portfolio probably need to do better. We're starting to do it, which is if you think about very old traditional luxury hotels, I'm thinking about big, vast, empty lobby spaces that you used to enter to do your check-in, et cetera, et cetera. And what certainly happened over the pandemic was to rethink those spaces. How do you make those spaces more cozy, more welcoming, and actually even, give people the chance to fill them with life, use it as co-working spaces instead of, untouchable, lost and empty, big spaces. So I think a good example is maybe the Fairmont Royal York, which has undergone a recent renovation. And now when you enter the lobby it's still a very impressive lobby, but it's now filled with, sofas and cozy corners where people can sit and have a chat and, work if they want to. And that's something I think we're going to see more and more, which, by the way, is also, I believe, one of the reasons why those lifestyle brands are thriving, because in the end, they tipped a little bit the overall hospitality sector on its head and said, instead of, let's look at the room designs first, they looked at, let's look at the community spaces first. Let's look at, how we can figure out a thriving F&B concept. And then if you want to stay the night, you can also stay the night, which is great. But this is, I think, what people are going to be looking for more and more, is getting these experiences beyond a functional overnight stay. So this is something that we are, at this point in time, of course, looking at in a lot of detail.
Yeah, you're looking at it from the other perspective. I like that. I know that there's an audience question which kind of plays into this about what are the long-term changes at Accor as a result of COVID. So you talked about like the lobbies changing and all these other things that you're doing. Do you think that this is there to stay? Like, is that the way you're going to go forward, or do you think it's just a matter of time until you revert back?
No, I think it's there to stay, and even I see that with myself. I see it with the teams here after these 18 months of COVID, where home working has really become more the norm than the exception. Who would have thought 2 years ago? And now we're at least trying to get the teams in every Tuesday and Thursday, because everybody's enjoying also that time to build and bond as a team. But more often than not, and myself included, I do like working from home, but I also, sometimes want to work somewhere else, not in the office and neither at home. So, and we do see that more and more, so that, people have in their communities the actual chance to go into a hotel space, into a co-working space, and work from there, because you might have distractions at home. You might not have the best, Wi-Fi speed. You might have little kids at home, which is all great, but of course it's distracting. So you can also use the hotel spaces in order to, get some peace and quiet. And that's exactly what I think will be continuing to happen. So I don't think that's a trend that's going away.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And everyone loves a good hotel, right?
Yeah, they do.
I do anyway. As we are starting to wrap up, I just would love to know, when you think about the major priorities, right? We're ending this year. We're going into hopefully a good year ahead with a lot of optimism. But what are some of those priorities that you're going to be focusing on as you look to evolve and redefine the Accor brand in the years ahead?
Yeah, I think one of the things we talked about already, which is there's a huge CSR agenda led by Brune Poisson, our Chief Sustainability Officer, and a big commitment of Accor towards sustainability, which is fantastic because we only have one planet. So that's definitely something that we as an industry also have to look out for. So that's one. Then secondly, we talked about a clear differentiation of the fantastic brands that we have. They all deserve a space, but we need to clearly carve that out, including a clear target audience segmentation, clear brand fundamentals, and then coming out clear programmings and partnerships. So that's what we're going to look out for. And the other thing that I'm actually also really excited about is there's a huge development, specifically in the US, for example, around voice-activated search. So everybody by now, I think more than 50% of people I read recently in the US have voice-activated search used at least once at their home. Everybody has, either a Google system, an Alexa, etc. in their house. So we're going to have to figure out how we're going to live with that and actually leverage it as an opportunity. And I think it's very interesting to start thinking about what your brand's voice would be as you go along this journey. And I think that's going to be becoming more and more important. So that's another thing we're starting to look actively into. Voice.
Right. You mentioned brand voice, and there's another question that just came up, which I love, is with 40 plus brands and a global footprint, how do you keep it real? Right?
Yeah, I love it. And one of the things is, and we're just introducing that actually. And it's all about, as I said at the beginning, being clear about your who, but not faking it and not making it up. Yeah. So we're actually using social media, listening tools, and AI technology that helps us to segment people into what we call tribes and show us, the cultural opportunity we have with them beyond hospitality. So of course, what is the content that these guys are engaging with, but not only based on our brand content, but also beyond other categories, industries, et cetera, so that we can, also leverage the right influencers, build the right partnership programs, all geared towards making sure that community is engaging with us, and we are engaging with that community on a real level, because it's all about being real. I totally agree with that. Great question.
Yeah. Well, listen, thank you for keeping it real with us here at Skift, and we look forward to seeing your handprints all over Accor in the years ahead. So congratulations, have a good holiday, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks to you too.